Blessings, blessings, blessings. All my thinkers, blessings, blessings. What's going on? What's going on? All right, so look, these conversations that we having is gonna go all over the place, right? The focus is to be able for us to speak freely. To speak our thoughts about the things and issues that we deal with and how we can improve and be better, right? My goal is always to improve, to grow, to progress, right? The best thing you can do is seek perfection. You'll never achieve it. We know that, right? You never achieve perfection, but the seeking of it, right? And y'all gonna hear me say it 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. We gotta do better. And we can do better and we will do better. All right. So these conversations is just to get things going, ideas twirling around in people's heads. It I'm gonna try to be as current as possible, but you know it may go where it goes, and so I hope y'all good with that. We good with that. All right. So yeah, today, well, in this video, we're gonna look at a topic that you know it's been here forever, right? And um, well, it's a video. It's a conversation between two people on their show, um, called Rising, and it was just interesting to me to hear the conversation. I don't know how old they are, but I might be older than them, and just just to hear the conversation and how some people understand some things to be, and I you know take nothing away from what he knows or she knows and how they actually feel, but um it's just amazing to me. It's just amazing, with especially with the climate and what's going on today, right? So I have a lot of comments, but I'm gonna hold off a lot on a lot of my comments, and I think um, Brianna in this video, she does a good job at expressing a lot of the things that a lot of the ways that I felt, um, and so I might chime in here and there. It's a longer video, so bear with me, but um, I think this is a great starter for us, right? It's a great starter for us. We're in a election year, and y'all gonna get all my thoughts about politics and everything coming up. Um, you know, and I'm sure a lot of you are not gonna agree with me, and that's fine. That's cool. I'm one person, right? Um, the goal is to come together as a unit on and stand on some things, but I don't know. I got a difference in opinions about some of the things we stand on, and you know, you're entitled to your opinions as well about anything I say. Just don't kill me for my thoughts. All right. So look, let's get this started. Let's go in and pull up this video.
Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley may need to crack open a history book and flip to the chapter about the Civil War. The presidential hopeful gave a meandering answer when asked about the cause of the war without once mentioning slavery as a crucial factor. Let's watch.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. What do you think the cause of the Civil War was?
Look, I'm sorry. I didn't want to do it, but right off the back, two easy points right there. You know, well that don't hit me with the easy question or nothing right there. That shows you don't have an answer. And then two, when you bounce it back to a person in the audience just asking a question, you don't want running for president. Like just to bounce it back, like, well, what do you think? I don't know. All right, let's go. I'm gonna try not to do that. All right, I'm gonna try not to chime in and everything like that. But that's what we're here for. We're here for a conversation anyway.
I'm sorry?
I'm not running for president. I wanted to see your viewpoint on the cause of the Civil War.
I mean, I think it always comes down to the role of government and what the rights of the people are. And I will always stand by the fact that I think government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of the people. It was never meant to be all things to all people. Government doesn't need to tell you how to live your life. They don't need to tell you what you can and can't do. They don't need to be a part of your life. They need to make sure that you have freedom. We need to have capitalism. We need to have economic freedom. We need to make sure that we do all things so that individuals have the liberties so that they can have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to do or be anything they want to be without government getting in the way.
Thank you. And in the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answer that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
No,
That's another tell right there, And then, like that's a great answer, but not for that question. It's a great answer. Like that's what you want to hear, right? But what are we talking about here?
you've answered my question. Thank you.
Next question.
After facing some backlash, Haley fixed her comments about this omission, saying the Civil War was in fact about slavery. Now, journalist Glenn Greenwald called out the media's reaction to Haley's comments, saying on X, if any other candidate refused to say slavery and glorified the Civil War this way, CNN would have declared a national racism emergency. But because D.C. elites are so desperate for Nikki Haley, watch CNN blame the voter for asking, then say her imperfect answer doesn't matter. Here is what Greenwald was referring to.
Now, it's not your average town hall question, but she did seem surprised by it, and the voter, as you could hear there, called her out for not mentioning slavery. What do you make of that answer?
Yeah, if I were her, that would have been pretty easy to just say that and move on. But it's also, I think, pretty clear that that voter was kind of trying to catch her and saying something that would potentially make her less appealing to those independent voters in New Hampshire that she's going to rely on so heavily. So this was an easy question to answer. I wish she had answered it using the easy word, say slavery. There's a disagreement in our country about it. But ultimately, I don't think it's actually going to hurt her standing one way or another with Republican primary voters at this point.
All right. So
the right answer, of course, is Northern aggression causes that tyrant Lincoln.
So this
you have to go all the way if you're going there.
This is going to the core of it. I mean, sure, the criticism is not just of Nikki Haley. I think whatever Nikki Haley says or does is unlikely she's going to be president. Who really cares? The question is, do we live in a country where including slavery in an answer about what the Civil War was about is alienating to a significant part of the Republican or independent audience? And is that really the question that we should be asking and probing as to why that is the case?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is it alienating? This was in New Hampshire, so one of the northern states. I think you could have just said slave. I mean, the answer she gave would satisfy no one because it was so like she wasn't saying anything real, and it was like just designed to avoid the question.
Real quick, there was slavery in the North.
either you can go all the way and say that that it was about the violations of states' rights and the North slowly choking the South's ability to govern itself, or you can just say the answer that they wanted you to say, which is slavery and states' rights or something like that.
Let's take a little journey back into history. Someone pulled Mississippi's secession document, in which they state very clearly. This is after a first sentence, which says we're leaving the Union. The second sentence in Mississippi's Declaration of Immediate Causes which induce and justify the secession of the state of Mississippi from the federal union, they say, our position is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery, the greatest material interest of the world. Its labor supplies the product which constitutes by far the largest and most important portions of commerce of the earth. These products are peculiar to the climate verging on the tropical regions, and by an imperious law of nature, none but the black race can bear exposure to the tropical sun. These products have become necessities of the world, and a blow at slavery is a blow at commerce and civilization. That blow has been long aimed at the institution and was at the point of reaching its consummation. There was no choice left to us but submission to the mandates of abolition or dissolution of the Union, whose principles have been subverted to work at our ruin.
They wanted to continue slavery. I'm not arguing with you.
And not only that, they wanted to continue slavery in service of some of the things that Nikki Haley said there that America is trying to preserve. She said this is about capitalism. This is about government should be about supporting people's ability to have freedoms, to do what they want to do. And I think that what's so frustrating by people who are not conservative is this framing of freedoms always excludes the question of freedoms for who. While making an argument about government and how it should be in service of capitalism, the people who wanted slavery also believe that to be the case, which is why they wanted to leave the federal government. But in their view, the freedom of them to own slaves and to do what they thought only black people could do was produce these products that the world needed, but only black labor could produce, was the core, primary, immediate driving purpose of them leaving the Union. So yes, we do live in a country where I think saying that out loud is stigmatizing, despite how true it is. That there are a lot of people who do call it the war of Northern aggression, who don't see the Civil War, who maintain that the Civil War is about states' rights without asking the question, states' rights to do what exactly? And there is something frustrating about Nikki Haley's persistence here and tiptoeing around those people when giving an answer in New Hampshire, a very northeastern state that had absolutely nothing to do with the Confederacy.
Yeah, she just should have said slavery. I mean, what else do you want me to say?
So another part of this is that, I don't think Nikki Haley is wrong to fear blowback, largely because Tucker Carlson, for one, has been bringing up a singular tweet that she did in the wake of the 2020 protests, in which she said, and I was trying to pull it up, maybe I can find it before the segment ends, but a rather anodyne statement about how this is like a moment of reckoning and we should all look to see, what's going on in our society that George Floyd could be killed on camera in this horrific way. And after that, she's condemned the protest. She's no friend of Black Lives Matter, but Tucker Carlson has been trying to use that one tweet, he's brought it up now multiple times, to paint her as somehow like the queen of Black Lives Matter, who's overly sympathetic to violent BLM mobs and all of that sort of thing. So if that one tweet gets you that level of pile-on from someone who wants to undermine your political efforts, who just doesn't like you, like Tucker Carlson, then yeah, I think that she was not wrong to fear retribution. But what does it mean that there's a Republican base out there, an independent base, or some base of Americans out there who would condemn her, who would punish her for simply saying that, yes, the Civil War had a lot to do with slavery?
Yeah, I mean, there's also the taking down the Confederate flag or from some. I think that's actually the animating event. Look, I don't really care for Nikki Haley. My beef with her is not along these issues, so I don't really care what she's been accused of endorsing, like the Black Lives Matter riots and property destruction. It looks to me like she never actually did any of that. She clearly.
So, I'm gonna try not to point, but I might cut this part out. Like, it's a lot of stuff about Nikki Haley. I mean, I guess since she's running for president, you may want to know these things. You may want to, hear this information to go look into it for yourself. If you're considering that, I hope not. But we're about like this is where things take a turn, and this is where we're going to get it. The conversation is going to come in. So here we go.
Clearly thinks that she is perceived as being out of step with conservative culture. Thus, I guess, this kind of effort to avoid saying that. I'm not actually sure she would get in trouble for saying that it was about slavery. That seems like really expecting people to turn on you for a pretty benign statement. I think you could say that. I mean, I don't. I mean, she was. You could also. There are other things one can say about the circumstances leading to the Civil War. It doesn't seem really important to talk about, which is maybe why there was a level of annoying that question got asked, because why? And I'm sure the person asking it probably was a Democratic plant, as alleged. But, you have to be prepared for that kind of thing. So.
I mean, it's New Hampshire. It's a state with a lot of independent voters. I don't know if it's a Democratic plant so much as that it's probably a person.
It was somebody that was trying to get Nikki Haley in trouble.
Yeah,
and she fell for it.
A person. Like, this feels a little like when Democrats argue that Russiagate did posts that made the election outcome for Trump in 2016. And then the post they'll point to is something that says, like, America has a history with racism. And they're like, oh, black people were deluded by Russia into thinking America has a history of racism. It's like, well, right. It's a true statement. Either you can confront the true statement and deal with it, or you can't. If people are saying true things that make you look bad, that's on you, bub. You can't externalize blame on that one. And this, Haley framed. She said, well, this is a hard question, like, sarcastically. Oh, hit me with an easy question. Why don't you? It actually was an easy question. It's an easy question in a country, in a world, and in a political environment where you can say honest historical facts about the things that happened in American history. Honest historical facts about the war that took more American lives than any war in American history. But we don't live in that country, and at the same time that she's prevaricating on that stage, we have people like Christopher Rufo and Ron DeSantis who are actively trying to pull African American history, which is American history, from schools, so that no one will read what I just read into the record here about what Mississippi's secession document actually says.
Nobody is trying to stop you from reading about Mississippi's succession document.
Robbie.
What are you? No. The reality about the Civil War, it has been taught, is being taught, and will continue to be taught. We're not like it's not Confederates planning our school books. I'm surprised you have this. It sounds, the North did you could say that was fine. They needed to do that, and this was necessary to end the institution of slavery, which is horrible. The hundreds of thousands of deaths, the invasion and conquest of the South, the burning of city after city, a scorched earth policy of totally destroying the Confederate armed forces, killing and capturing their leaders. That's fine. That's what we did. We can't examine. I think it's fine to wonder if that was the greatest course of action or the ideal way to bring about the end of slavery, particularly because the North invented the draft and the purpose of doing it, which is, in my view, also a form of slavery, that then persisted for another 100 years.
Hi, I'm Nicole Hockley from Sandy Hook Promise. I know this is hard to hear, but it's important.
Yo, listen. Look at her face. Look at her face. This is where my thoughts come in at. All right? But I'm going to let the video play out. But we're going to talk about some things, all right?
Forcing people to go die in warfare is the most objectionable thing I could possibly think of.
Weird. I think 400 years of chattel slavery having ritualized.
If the government can make you die. If they can make you die.
Do you think slave owners couldn't kill their slaves didn't kill their slaves?
I'm saying this is a form of slavery. I'm not saying slavery is not slavery.
You just said that the draft is the worst thing that you could think of. And we're having a conversation about chattel slavery.
You do not, if the government can make you go die on a foreign battlefield, you don't own yourself in any conceivable way. So that's why I don't romanticize the North's actions.
You have a right to
during
get
this whole
married if
thing.
you're in a war. If you're drafted, you have a right to keep your own children, not have them literally sold away from you as property. You have a right to wages for your labor. You had a right to a GI Bill.
Inventing one kind of slavery is the right way to get.
Robbie, you can make your point without making a comparison between the draft and chattel slavery, which was a multi-generational pogrom against millions of Africans who were brought across the Atlantic and kept for hundreds of years without a single right in the land.
Very bad, shouldn't have done any of it, should not have enslaved people in the course of ending it. And in fact, it is obviously prohibited by the same amendment to our Constitution that end slavery should have applied to the draft as well. But
all right,
I don't like people. I don't like people dying. I don't like people being enslaved.
He could have let it go. He could have just stopped. Like, you did enough. You did enough. The fact that you even try to bring in the 13th Amendment when that doesn't even get rid of slavery.
I don't want any of this, and I don't know what we're arguing about at this point.
Me either.
What, so you support the draft?
I support not comparing the draft to chattel slavery.
Okay, so you support what, the invasion of the South and the killing of hundreds of thousands of people and the burning of all their cities?
To free my ancestors? Hell yeah, Robbie.
Okay, we found a war you can get excited about. Yes, total destruction until they surrender. Very interesting.
So when we're talking about Gaza, you say, well, if Hamas will just surrender, then we don't have to have a war anymore.
Exactly.
Well, the South just released the slaves. They wouldn't have to have a civil war.
Exactly, and they destroyed every city and every armed force until they achieved that outcome. That's what I'm saying. No, you have a problem with this as applied to any other conflict, but not this one.
The difference is, Robbie, that you ignore the fact that 2.3 million Palestinians have been kept in an open-air prison for decades, after 700,000 of them that lived and were indigenous to the land now called Israel were driven out in an ethnic cleansing event in 1948 at the founding of Israel. Subsequently, they were living under those chattel conditions with a blockade where Israel wouldn't even let them have chocolate. They have to have special passes and checkpoints like apartheid South Africa to get from one point to another. They were being kept on a starvation diet. They were not given access to medicine, food, and they were ritualistically, routinely the lawn was mowed, where hundreds of Palestinians were kept on killed on a yearly.
They put terrorists in charge of their government. Those terrorists attacked the state of Israel. Israel is now
all right. I'm
continuing this action until it defeats them, just as the North did to the South in the Civil War. If you'd been around then, I don't know. To be consistent, I think you'd have to be saying, no, they should hold back. They should permanent ceasefire. That would be ridiculous because they were going to continue. Would you have said that in the Civil War circumstance?
Wait, first of all, you're dramatically, I wasn't going to touch this because this is going long and not the point, but you're dramatically mischaracterizing.
You said they won't let them read the Missouri secession document in schools anymore.
It was Mississippi.
Whatever it was.
What I was going to say was that it was beside the point, but you're.
People just be arguing to argue. They just be so gung-ho about their point and their stance on what they believe that they can't even, and then, like, you could tell that this conversation about slavery and it's not important to him. This is not an important conversation. It means nothing to him. Like, it doesn't exist. I don't enslave anybody. So why should I be worried about that? Like, it happened 200 years ago. We're not those people anymore, supposedly, right? You know, so, and, you know, we might not ever go back to slavery, but we could have a draft. North Korea could attack us tomorrow, and we might have to draft people into the military, which is a form of slavery, which is his fear. Look, it's not that much time left. Let me let it play out, because
you're dramatically mischaracterizing how the Civil War was handled. While slaves got nothing, slave owners were literally paid reparations. And given the cost of their losses and made whole during the war. And after a very brief period where it looked like there would be some semblance of enforced equality in the South, it went out the door after Lincoln's death. And we had a very brief period where we actually had black senators elected and the like in the South. And then we had a pogrom of post-war life and indentured servitude and Jim Crow laws that were almost as bad as the slavery itself, which lasted up until the civil rights era when my parents were born. So I'm
People still alive from that time. Like,
excuse me, this is not a historical abstraction, although for people who don't read, who live in Florida, very soon it might just be an abstraction as they're disallowed from actually taking African American classes at these state schools.
Go ahead.
But this is really real. And I do think it's very telling that the same people who I think would likely probably defend the South in the Civil War, a lot of the people who aren't understanding why the cause of freedom is so important for Palestinians, it's so important for black people, because fundamentally there are some inalienable rights which are in our Constitution, but which were not evenly applied to all human beings in the United States of America, because black people under the law were not considered to be full human beings, according to our Constitution.
And I'm saying it's totally inconsistent, your view on whether it is the correct course of action for a government to invade another area seeking the total elimination and destruction of an enemy government and then imposing new conditions on it.
The North was Gaza.
He's conflating civil war in 1865 world time America with whatever's the occupation that's going on in Palestine today. He's talking about people, okay, that have a government that represents them, opposed to a government that did not represent these people. Yo, oh my gosh, man, listen. This is why it's important to teach these things, because like they say, you will repeat history. And short-sighted people like this guy Robbie here is how y'all gonna end up in slavery. How we're all gonna end up back in slavery. Right? Because you don't see that the thing that we're standing on, this document, is the thing that enslaved a group of people before. And then even in that document still says that you can be enslaved if you are convicted of a crime. With the way this government chooses and decides to do whatever they want to do. We've seen it with the pandemic. Right? They could choose and decide if they want to really enact that slavery thing. Yeah.
Israel is not seeking the total elimination of a government.
Hamas is the government of the area.
Israel is in.
Hamas is the government of the area. Did black people have a government? What was it? Was it the black people's government in a civil war or fighting a war against the Northern Union? Did the black people have a choice? Because black people fought in both the South and the North. Yo, look, right? We in bad shape, America. We in bad shape, right? The compassion is not even there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. You gotta save yourself. I get it. That's what we taught. You know what I'm saying? Survival of the fittest. I get it. We got a long way to go. We could do better. We gotta do better. We gotta do better than this. This is insane.
I don't know how many experts have to go on TV and say this. Israel is doing a genocidal campaign against the people of Gaza.
They are not. That is not true.
It is 100% true.
Well, it's not.
They have killed over 200,000 people, half of which are children. They have killed 11,000 children.
20,000.
Sorry, 20,000 children. Half of them, 11,000 of them are children. They have bombed almost every residential building in Gaza, churches, schools, universities, so that nobody can go back. They have explicitly stated a plan of ethnically cleansing them to either Arab countries in the region or to the Sinai Peninsula specifically. They are planting literal flags, and at the same time, their kill ratio of actual members of Hamas to civilians is lower than what the terrorists did on October 7th. This is not a pogrom. This is not an effort to get rid of Hamas. And if you are believing that and repeating that at this point, I don't know what to tell you. If they are after Hamas, they're the most ineffectual, inept, ridiculous army in the world, and they shouldn't get a cent more of American dollar, and nobody should take them seriously. By contrast, we had a country called the United States of America, half of which decided that they were willing to leave the Union in order to maintain the institution of slavery. And we fought a war to end it. They did not just randomly do sniper attacks and kill Confederate soldiers.
Brianna, that is ridiculous. They burned cities down. They killed half the entire population of military age men. There were all sorts of atrocities committed. It's fine. It's warfare. It happens. I'm not saying I'm against it or it's unjustified, but it is warfare. And that's how warfare goes.
Robbie, they killed military men? Wow, I wish they were killing military men in Gaza, but
this is warfare. It is bloody. It is destructive. They blow up things. You burn them down.
They specifically said, how many Israeli officials have to get on TV and say, oh, they're all Hamas? Everyone's a likely target.
If you had smartphones back then, it would look the same way.
It wouldn't, because not that many people.
She trying. She trying. She is trying. Because look. Excuse me. It's impossible to deal with people who think like this. Like, let me not say it's really hard to deal with people who like to conflate issues, like things that got nothing to do with, like, you can't even compare the two, right? Like it's not, but they do this all to make a point, all to prove a point, to stand on a point. Like, yo, look, watch, we're gonna watch another video, right, coming up with PBD and the guy Bassem, right, where it's like they cannot allow, like, regardless of what you say, you could have an answer for every single thing that they say. But since you do, then maybe let me rephrase it and reframe how I'm saying what I'm saying, so that maybe me saying it like this, you come to my side and understand and say yes to what I'm saying. It's like are you serious? First of all, your facts about the Civil War is wrong. Your facts about slavery are wrong. You know, the fact that you said if they had social media back then, that it would be the same is insane. It's insane. It's insane. We like, think about how people use social media now. They use the shit for clout, just to do shit to get people to look at them, just to say they did it. And the feeling of people at that time, imagine what they would have done. People would have been going crazy on black people White people would have been, yo, what? We would have seen the most horrific images you've ever seen. Ever. Like, this man.
It's just, Robbie, I look,
She trying.
I don't have to finish this conversation with you because
she
you're
trying.
representing a viewpoint that is like nobody's. And so I'm happy to, it's your read. Go ahead and end the segment.
Look, yeah,
I don't need to argue with you.
I'm representing a viewpoint that's nobody's.
Yes, I don't need to sit and argue with you that actually the Civil War was much more cruel and that the North was worse than the South and the literal genocide that we're seeing unfold
Well,
in front of our
now you're
eyes.
putting word in my mouth. I'm not saying that.
You can feel free to clarify and wrap at your leisure.
Okay. I think that does it for us for today. Tomorrow on Rising, Jessica Burbank and Amber Duke will be back to take the baton for Rising Fridays, and we'll be back with you in the new year.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss.
Like I said, I get it. What affects you, shapes your environment and how you think, what you fear. Robbie, look, he I guess he's young enough, right? Right? Let's look at, like, I guess he's young enough so he feel like, yo, they might snatch me up if we gotta go to war because I don't want to fight nobody. But let's think about something, right? There were people paying to have black people fight in their place. When they were getting drafted, spend some money and put a nigga in the place. On both sides. Like, so, there was people still able to escape that. That claim is wild. That claim is just, it's kind of wild. But I get it. Like I said, I get it. You fear having to go to war, right? You didn't want any war, right? But you were also not going to be that person in that time telling anyone to stop doing what they were doing in the South. Because look what the South were ready. They fought a war over it. We believe this. This is how we eat it. You're not going to take... I mean, at some point, it gets beyond greed, and it just becomes like your habit, your life, your way of doing things, like, and that's what it was. The free labor of black slaves provided the lifestyle and of all they could imagine. It was the American dream. Right? But, she asked that question, freedom for who? The government is about the government. Nikki Haley, mind you, talking about the government. Is how the government was gonna move, and having the freedom for people and make sure people have these. What people had those freedoms during the Civil War, during that time. Like, I mean, that's a great answer right now, or in any other kind of, if any other kind of question was asked, but it's just like short sighted. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And look, so if you thought like Nikki Haley was oh, it was just a slip, or she could have said that. I'm telling you, it wasn't. It was either a really, really big mistake or it was on purpose. Right? And that's how you know it was on purpose. Check this out.
America was founded institutionally on many racist precepts, including slavery.
But when you look, it said all men are created equal. I think the intent was to do the right thing. Now, did they have to go fix it along the way? Yes, but I don't think the intent was ever that we were going to be a racist country. The intent was everybody was going to be created equally. And as we went through time, they fixed the things that were not all men are created equal. They made sure women became equal too. All of these things happen over time. But I refuse to believe that the premise of when they formed our country was based on the fact that it was a racist country to start with.
America was founded in.
So, I forgot this guy named Jake Tapper, right? He America was founded on some particular racist ideologies and all of that. And she goes, yes, but when you look at it, when you look like, oh, we can see. You saying that like nobody had eyes to look at that. It said though, look, it said all men are created equal. They went back and fixed it. They went when? Who went back and fixed what and did what? They fought a war over it. They didn't fix nothing. They fought a war. Right? And then after the war, all they did was change the words up. Right? That's all they did. Change the words up. After the war, like Brianna said, those people they fought the war against, the people that didn't die and all of that, or the people that, got statues still standing up, those people that they fought that war against, those families and all of that who lost the war. You lost. Oh, they got money though. They got paid. They got all that shit back. They got their land. They got all that shit back. Who loses a war and gets to keep their shit in history? Or get their shit back in history. Like, I'm just saying, right? Because these were brothers and family and all of that, just different thoughts of opinion, different feelings about how the country should move in what direction, right? Industry was killing at the time over there in Europe, and they were killing off of the products that was being produced and harvested here, but those products don't grow in the north. So they try to figure out ways that they can get some of that bread too. Yo, we gotta industrialize, right? Because when you send it over there, they get to then capitalize. We should be able to have these industries here, and everything is in house, right? I don't know. That could be the argument. Makes sense. But that could be the case. I don't know. I don't know. And Lincoln said it. If I didn't have to disrupt this way of living and, people's want for slavery or whatever, I wouldn't do it. If we could figure out a way that North and South could come together, I mean, kind of sound like the argument I was just making, where, you know, we keep all of this in house, then hey, let's keep them enslaved because then now it produces for us. But if you're not going to do that for us, then you can't have your slaves. She said, Nikki Haley now, I'm referring back to her. The intent was not to be a racist country. I gotta look up when racism was invented. When they was I forgot what it was. When they was doing the phrenology and all of that, the studies of the brain and all of that, then they came up with this whole idea. Well, because even back then it wasn't called racism. Like that's a distinctly American thing, right? It wasn't called racism. Even when we talk about it in history, we're applying our definition of what happened. We're applying our definition of today, racism, that word, right? So that's a uniquely American thing, right? This whole racism and everything. Um, so and my example is some people are like, what? No, they did it in India and all of that shit. No, those was caste systems, right? Those were caste systems. This is a whole different system. This racism system. This, you know, um, right? The caste system. We conquered you, and we like these people better because they're more fair. We rather have that's the this whole racism thing was a whole like scientific thing put together to officially be able to say that these people need to be like kept like this and deserve to be like this because of these scientific articles, these journals, these books, and these, like, it was a whole plan. This whole racism thing, right? Racism is about power, right? We know that, right? Racism is about power, right? That's why black people be like, I can't be racist. Black people can't be, because they don't have the power to affect anything, any change in your life. Like they gonna go to, oh yeah, we got this guy over here. He's doing this to me, and um, you know, his kids shouldn't be able to eat, and we should shut down his whole community because they're all like that. There's no power to do that. Look, yo, white people begin like because it shifted a little bit to where niggas got cameras and could put you on camera and show the world the shit that you do, right? But at the end of the day, that's still not power. That's not true power, right? That happened to you. And it could happen to him, her, him, black, white, Asian. It can happen to all of them, right? That's not restricting your whole race. People that you identify with. It's not stripping them of anything. It's not making you less than. And even though you did the fucked up shit, you got to pay for that. It still does not make your race less than. right? That's what racism is. It's the ability to subjugate a people. How you do that without money, influence? Like, you got to have those things in place to actually be that, right? And so, now people may be changing, times are changing and all of that, but these systems, right? That's what they say. The systems that are in place have always been in place with these undertones of racism. So for her to say that the country's intent was not to be racist, where it's easy to say that when, if you believe that those people believed at the time that those that were enslaved were not people. Yeah, how can we be racist? They're not people. I'm racist. They ain't nobody. They not people. Right? They chattel. These are not people. Even though they got two, arm, leg, arm, head, you know what I'm saying? They reproduce, they can speak, they build the shit, they do the shit that we need them to do, right? And niggas say, oh, well, a horse could do the shit an ox could do this. No. An ox is not going to tell him, so, yeah, let me come out here and pick this fucking cotton and, these grass, let me, because these people going to need to eat and all of that. Let me plant these seeds and all that. No. Come on, man. Right? So the intent was not to be racist because they didn't consider them people. So they wouldn't be racist. But at the end of the day, they knew what they were doing was wrong. Right? But they needed to do that. Right? A lot of people will tell you that was a necessary evil. Cool. It was a necessary evil. So why we can't admit that that's a part of our history? Why can we not? Why are schools trying to restrict what they call African American history, but it's actually American history, right? Why African Americans, black people, why whatever, why we gotta take the negative side of the history, right? The negative shit happened to us, but why does that have to always sit with us? Because we talk about how great this country is, but we don't talk about the things it did to get here, right? And black people talk about it all the time, right? And you would think that, okay, they would stop talking about this shit by now. Like, why are we still talking about this? Because it hasn't been rectified. As much as you want to say you are not a slave owner, none of your family were slave owners, the government and the system that this constitution and everything that we still stand on was the roadmap for what was done to the people back then, to our people, to my people, to American people, Americans, right? Because we're Americans, right? Right? Like, look, you don't get to tell me I'm something American when I can trace my lineage and my people has fought in every war this country has ever had. Every war this country has ever fought, America, right? Even before the document. every battle, it was my people there. How we still a dash how we still a hyphenated people. Niggas is hyphenated and fought in every war this country has ever had. That's wild to me. And there's people who's never fought in a war could come here and tell us, no, we don't agree that we don't think you should get reparations. We don't think you should be your family, your lineage should be repaired. You fought a war, your family, anybody in your family fought a war for this country? How deep it go? And it gotta be, you know what I'm saying? We talking before Vietnam. Talking before that. Your family ain't fight a war before Vietnam. Don't even say nothing. Don't even say nothing. This is not your argument. Right? This should go deeper than that. Just saying, man. If the intent was not to be a racist country, the intent was to benefit off of free labor. Brianna explicitly read the Mississippi document, the secession document, and it was all about slavery for them. Right? It was all about the free labor. And the free labor could only come on the backs of black people. Only on the backs of them. Only the blacks could withstand the tropical weather that is necessary. I mean, for these crops to grow. And for generations upon generations, your families, those families in this government, in this country, has benefit and reaped the benefits and has been able to provide you, newcomer, with these things that some people to this day still do not get. To this day, to this very day. Now, don't get me wrong. America is, I'm not saying is the worst country out there, right? But I do think that people have it so ingrained in them to self-preserve and forget anything else. Like, oh, we just got to cut that off. Like, because I just got to move on with my life. So whatever happened, like, those people, those type of people that did the worst shit in the world. But because now we here and whoever's here that survived whatever worst shit they did is just like, yo, look, what we gonna do? We can't, cause like you fuck, like what? Yo, look, we just got to end it here. And we just move forward. We can't look backwards. You fucked everybody in the room. You did everybody in the room dirty, and now everybody in the room, you with them, like, and you're like, no, we can't look. We gotta keep moving forward. We can't look backwards. We can't. That was passe. But people are still affected by it, right? There's the underlining thing has not changed. Look, this is my final statement, right? Right, and when people say it's the system, when people say that, this is what I want y'all to know, right? What they mean is it's the Constitution. It may not sound like that, and they may not even understand that that's what they're saying. But when you say it's the system, it's these all of these institutions, right? Institutions any American institutions have been here for years, right? Since that time. So when people say, "Oh, it's the system, it's this racist system, it's this system," what upholds that system if not the Constitution? We are standing on a document that does not serve us, people. I'm sorry. It doesn't. It doesn't. It served the people of that time when it was written. It does not serve anybody living today, except maybe if you're still part of that family, those families, right? Or you come in to receive some of those benefits that our people have never gotten, right? To sit here and say, "Oh, you got equality," and you still had this, right? Look, we're equal now. We open the door down here for you to be equal. This is the bare minimum of being equal. The bare minimum of being equal. And we done had all of this head start already. But we're equal. Don't add up. Especially when these people then built that shit for you to be up here. Right? Now, here's the other thing. We're not saying that, you got to give us all your wealth. Right? Not saying that. All we're saying is repair your country. Because what else we know? Right? Our culture, everything about our history, our lives say America. Right? What else we know? My grandfather was born in 1928. What was going on in 1928? This is my grandfather. What was going on in 1928? So when was his mother born? His parents. What was going on during that time? His parents' time. Right? Because look, here's the thing. There was no black people coming here like during that time after slavery. Even before slavery, like you weren't coming here as a family like how the immigrants come now and all. You weren't immigrating here. They were let me say that. Black people were not immigrating here. Right? So these people were already here. If your grandfather 1928 like these his lineage from whatever they go back to whenever they were brought here or whenever they were captured. Right? So the onus of all of this is on this government. Right? But you get people like Robbie who don't understand these things and blindly walk themselves and everyone else right back into these old archaic times of shit like slavery. White people, look, y'all talking about all, look, I said that was my last point, but look, right? Because I'm gonna keep pounding this into the ground, like with the whole woke shit, right? This is a perfect example of how you take shit, co-opt it, you whitewash it, you corporatize it, and you sell it out till that shit has no value, right? It's to the point now where being woke is actually a bad thing, when it used to be people that understood how this system and this government was shitting on you. To be able to be aware and see the bullshit that this government does to you and to the people. That's what being woke was. Right? But now it's the enemy. You can't even be knowledgeable, right? And so since you can't be knowledgeable, dummies like this keep walk us right into this bullshit that they got for us. Don't even realize that when civil rights happened and black people became equal, white people also became equal to black people. Right? It's one of these federal policies that happened in the 70s. It's like 71 or something. I don't know. Go look it up. It might make sense to you. But, you know, you couldn't, look, you fall below that poverty line, hey, it's on you. Can't save you because you're white anymore. Right? Can't do that. Can't discriminate anymore. So, and, you know, white people didn't understand it then. But black people been saying these things for years. Because we experienced it. And now it's about class. Now it's about class. It's not about race anymore. And the white people that's hitting these classes, the middle class and the lower class, is like, this is wrong. They're enslaving us. They're doing us an injustice. But you don't hear me though. Yo, listen. Blessings, all my thinkers. Yo, I like to think outside the box. You know? I know where it could have went, and I know I try to stay there in that space, but if we don't like really like acknowledge the things that are troubling this nation, right? Race relations, poverty, wars. Like, if we don't address these things, man, we're going to continue to find ourselves continually, we're going to hit idiocracy. It's going to get there. It's going to get there. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you thinking. All my thinkers. Blessings.